Hey everyone, you've probably seen animation curve, but not like this. In this video, I will show you a different way to think about animation curve and how you could use them to your benefits. The first example might surprise you. Animation curve can replace some expression setups, especially for dynamic interactions. Okay, so we are going to head to DaVinci Resolve right now. So let's head to the computer. All right, so we're just going to start with a new adjustment clip. You can also use Fusion Composition if you like, but I'm going to start with adjustment clip. We're first going to quickly look at one of the examples of expressions that we've used in the past. Okay, so we're going to quickly do that right now. So let's just get a random shape. Okay, so let's also add a shape to this. So we're just going to get this shape. Let's try to use an angle. Okay, so when you use angle, we're just going to rotate the shapes. So obviously the full rotation of an angle is 360. So what we're going to do here is simply use an expressions here. So we're going to right click and hit expressions. So for this to rotate fully from frame 0 to the end, we need to find out the length of the clip. So this has 119 frames. So it goes from frame 0 to frame 119. So we could simply say here time divided by 119 multiplied by 360. All right, so if we play it from frame 0 to frame 119, it's going to complete 360. Okay, so this is a simple expression that we could do to complete 360. Since we know that 119 is the last frame, we could simply use comp.renderEnd. Let's change the color. All right, so the reason why we use comp.renderEnd instead of 19 is because if we extend this, it's still going to have that 360. If I reduce the size, it's still going to be the same thing. All right, so that's why we use comp.renderEnd. All right, so we got that. Let's head back to animation curve or animation curve. Okay, so we got it. So let's remove expression box. Okay, so let's add this here. Let's head back to 0. Now we've seen how the expression goes. Now let's talk about anim curve. All right, so we are going to do the same thing here with the angle. So we're going to right click, modify with anim curve. That's the same with animation curve. All right, we're going to click on animation curve. And now we have animation curves. So this is the default, but we could head to the modifier and we could change whatever we like. All right, so the curve shape. Normally I just leave it at transitions. You have different options, durations, custom. For now, let's use transition. All right. Linear, of course, you know what this is, linear, easing in, and custom. So let's just use ease in, because with ease in, we have different options. So now this is where you might call it math or you might call it intuition if you know how to use this. But let's go to scaling. On default, the offset is 0 and the scale is 360. So this is why it starts from 0 to the end is 360. So the reason why anim curve can replace some expressions is because if you leave it like this, on default, it makes a 360 turn, okay, or rotation. If I decrease it, it's still going to be the same thing, 360. If I extend it, it's still going to be the same thing. And by the way, this is on default, but we are going to go and explain how everything here works. All right, so let's first head to shape and explain this. So over here, we are using transitions. Now, the in is the starting point and out here is the ending point. So let's say you want the end animation to have a bounce. You simply go to out and click bounce. So now if you play this, let's forward this, it's going to have a bounce at the end. Okay, if you wanted to build like elastic, you could do the same thing. It has that elastic. All right, so this is just different options here. Okay, so let's leave this as none. Okay, now scale, here we see 360 and the offset is 0. So what that means is it's going to start from the offset, which is 0, and the entire length is going to go from 0 to 360. So here, if I change this to 180, from 0 to the entire length is going to be 180. So with the offset now, if I change the offset to, let's say, 10, what that means is the angle is going to start from 10 instead of 0 because the offset is now 10. So that's where it's going to start from 10, and it's going to rotate from 10 to 180. If you look at this, it's like 190 because when you're pushing the offset, you're not just pushing the starting point, you're pushing both the starting point and the ending point. That's how that works. So let's reset the offset to 0. And now let's head to timing. All right. So with timing, as you can see, the timing here is 1. Remember, here we're working with time. If you see 1, that means the full length is 1. What happens when I put 2 is the entire animation is going to happen twice as fast. So that means it's going to take half the time. All right. So the ending frame is at 229. So what that means is the animation is going to end around 115 or 115. Okay. So from here, this is half the length. All right. So this is where that animation is going to end now because the time scale is twice as fast. Okay. So if I put 3, what happened is it's going 3 times as fast, so it's taking 1/3 of the time. Okay, so now the time is going to probably around 70. Okay, so the entire rotation happens from frame 0 to around frame 70 something. Let's put it back at 1 so we understand what's going on. Okay, so the reason why I put it back at 1 is to show you how this works. So it takes the entire scale from frame 0 to the end of the frame, which is frame 229, to go from angle 0 to angle 180. So if I move the offset, you're moving the entire time scale. So if you do that while it's 1, you are not going to complete the entire rotation because some of the scale is out of the time scale. So let's say 0.5. It's not going to complete the entire rotation. Okay, so this is 0, 45. Okay, now the math actually works. Let's go back to 0. So now let's put the time scale at 2. I've already explained if it's 2, that means it's twice as fast. So it's going to take half the time. Okay, so now when you're saying time offset, see now it starts from 0 to around 114. So that's half the time. Now let's do 0.5 with the time offset. 0.5 is like half the time scale. So you've moved the entire scale. So the beginning point goes to halfway and the ending point ending of the time scale. If I move this, it's not going to start moving because you've moved the offset. Now, if we head to the half of the time scale, now it starts moving and it completes the turn and end. Okay, so that's because you moved it 0.5, which is half of the time scale. So if I say 0.3, if I say 0.3, now it's going to start 1/3 of the time scale. Okay, that's where it's going to start. Boom, and it's going to finish. So it didn't wait to the end simply because the entire length was able to fit between the beginning and the end. Okay, so that's how you could think about it. Most of our calculations or math is going to be happening on timing because with scale, we are simply scaling what we want with the rotation. And remember, we could use anim curve with other stuff as well, not just rotation, but rotation is just what I want to use with this example. And scaling and timing, they are working together. Everything is working together, okay? So the question becomes, what if we want to go from angle 0 to angle 180, but within the time frames? Not from the starting frames to the ending frames, but let's say we want to start from frame 100 to frame 130. So that's 30 frames. First, we are going to look for the time scale that will match that length, which is 30 frames. How do we do it? We are going to go and check out the ending frame. The ending frame is 229, frame 229. So what we're going to do is pull out our calculator. I got mine here, and we are going to say 229 divided by, now frame 100 to 130, that's 30 frames. So we are going to say 229 divided by 30. It gives us 7.633. So we're just going to put 7.63. That's close enough. So 7.63. Boom. But if we leave it like this and we check right now, what's happening is it's going to start from frame 0, which is the offset, and it's going to last to 30 frames. Exactly 30 frames. Boom. So we got one thing right. The duration of the animation is right. However, the offset is not right because we want to start from 100. Okay, we want to start from 100 and add at 130. So now we have to do another math at the time offset. So how do we get the time offset? We know we want to start from 100. So what we're going to do is we go back to our calculator and say 100 divided by 229. And we get 0.4366. So we round it up as 0.44. Okay, so we say, we put in here 0.44. Boom. So now let's see. It doesn't start until it gets to frame 100. Then it starts and lasts to frame 130. Thereabout. Okay, there's some decimals, so it might not be exactly 130, but it's very, very close. All right, so bang. So that's how you could fine tune your animations and fine tune your timing. And voila, that's how you get it. If you like what you see, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more videos.